All right. You're welcome to Wealth Unleashed webinar, our weekend dose on your journey to financial freedom. My name is Oladipo Clements, and we will be getting right into the subject of the day. It's been an exciting one so far. And for those of you who may be joining us for the very first time, this is Wealth Unleashed, and we put this together essentially to help those who want to really be financially free. And it's possible regardless of your current social economic status, regardless of your educational background, okay? It's not much of what you earn, even though that plays a critical role, but what you do with what you earn. And that's pretty much some of the things we've been touching on in the past few weeks. Just to lay a little foundation, particularly for those who may just be joining us for the very first time, we established that there are three critical phases you must go through or you must master in your journey to financial freedom. And we mentioned number one is personal transformation. It's a lifelong protocol, is a lifelong activity. You never graduate from the need for personal transformation. You have to be a superior version of yourself year in, year out for you to possess whatever dream that is in your heart. The version of you today can possess the dreams you envision for yourself and for your family, right? And that's why personal transformation is very, very critical. Every time I think about personal transformation, I think about it in the light of where I have been personally as an individual. When I think about, who I was 20 years ago versus who I am today, clearly the gap is wide apart. In the same way, whenever you have a dream, you have a vision, you have a goal, you have to grow to the size of that dream. You have to grow to the size of that vision. Otherwise, those dreams will never materialize. Otherwise, those visions will never come to fruition. And that's pretty much what personal transformation focuses on. Focuses on your mentality, focuses on your belief system, the thought pattern that preoccupies your mind. It's a very, 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 and we spent weeks upon weeks, dwelling on that. The second phase is income generation, planning, and application. Income generation, planning, and application. And we established quite a bit. I wouldn't want to dwell too much and too long on this. The third phase is on asset accumulation. Asset accumulation, asset accumulation, optimization, and retention. So we've not gotten to third phase. We are still in the second phase. So what we dealt with in the preliminary phase of the second phase was on income generation. We did mention that if you are not making money, right, there are three possibilities. Number one, you start begging for money. Once you run out of people to beg from, you start cutting corners. You start borrowing money. All right. When you run out of people to borrow from, the next thing that begins to happen is that you start cutting corners. Now, while none of these three options are honorable, the third one can land you in jail. And that's why if there's any investment you must make, the number one investment you must make is your capacity to earn more. All right. In your capacity to earn more. Your greatest asset, especially on this journey to financial freedom, is your earning ability. You have no idea what it means when even if you are down with no kobo with you, but you know what it takes to produce income. I mean, it is the source of your self-esteem. All right. Anything that takes away your ability to make money, to generate income, has taken away your pride, has taken away your self-esteem, has taken away all you are, everything you represent. And so once you are able to develop your capacity to earn, it does not matter where you are placed. It does not matter where you are located. You'll be able to command purchasing power from the four corners of the earth. And that's why it's so important. And we dwelt a bit significantly on that. So if you missed any of the previous sessions, I would recommend you go back there. And the only reason why I'm doing just this short recap is so that you can understand that there's a whole lot so that you don't just pick one part of it and then start running with it without paying attention to the other critical elements. And another very important thing I need to mention here is all the replays are available on my YouTube channel at Oladipo Clem. So if you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, you want to do that right away. Also, you can follow me on all social media platforms, particularly LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Okay, so you find me on all of those social media platforms. If you need to contact us, maybe you want to book a coaching session or you want to reach us for any other services, feel free to reach out to my executive assistant on 0708-797-0441, 0708-797-0441. I have made this commitment to start doing this, but please and please, right? This will be my last session for this year, and then we'll resume again in the second week in January 2024. There is a whole lot packed for 2024, but I will be unveiling that in 2024, or we communicate that via all the various, through the various community platforms. So let's get right into it. Over the last 3 weeks, we began talking about financial pressure. And for those of you who have watched the replays, the links have been shared. For those of you who have watched the replays, I'm sure you derived a lot of value from it. So we've touched on vital facts about financial pressure. Whether you make money or you don't make money, pressure is common to all of us, right? But it can be, you know, it varies from person to person. Okay, that is on that. Number two, we went on to look at what is the cure to financial pressure, and last week we dived into budgeting as a cure, permanent cure to financial pressure. And today, we want to just go into how to develop an effective budget, how to create or develop an effective budget. We said last week that, you see, what architectural drawing is to a building, that's exactly what a budget is to your wealth, to your financial freedom. So if you will not be broke tomorrow, it's today you will know. If you won't be poor tomorrow, it's today you will know. Your plan, your budget, right, it reveals exactly what your future will look like. If I can see your budget, I can predict your future, your financial future. And that's pretty much what this is about. So whether you are a career person or an entrepreneur, right, this is also true for both categories of people. So let's look at how to develop an effective budget. You know, years ago, and what I want to share right now is very, very important, because sometimes when people learn, they pick things out of context, and they don't, you know, they don't interpret a principle with another principle. They don't connect the dots. And I figured somewhere along the line many years ago that knowledge is knowing what is. Knowledge is knowing what a thing is, right? Understanding, right, is knowing why the thing exists in the first place. And then wisdom is knowing how to use it or how to apply it. So sometimes people know what is, but they don't know why it is. And some other times they know what is, they know why it is, but they don't know how to use it or how to apply it. And until you know how to apply, you really have not gotten the insight. You've not gotten the knowledge. So it is my hope that by the time you go through all the previous sessions we've had, you will be gaining not just knowledge, you'll be gaining understanding, and then you begin to find how to apply it in your own particular situation. There are those who will be listening and watching this video sometime now, sometime later in the future, and they may be students at the time they're watching this video. Some will be out of job, or some people will be looking for jobs. Some people will be in businesses, starting their own businesses. Some people already have been in businesses by the time they'll be watching this video. At whatever stage in their life, the application will vary because their situation is different. That's what we call situational analysis. There's also what we call situational leadership. All right. So it may be the same rule, universal principle, but different application because of the particular situation in which you find yourself. And the reason I'm giving this background is because I've seen people say this thing don't work. And the reason they say it doesn't work is because they are trying to use the same principle that an entrepreneur is using in the same manner and template as someone who is earning a salary. Okay, and then it appears as though this thing doesn't work. It does work. It's just that we need to customize it, and that's the role of wisdom. Wisdom will help you to customize the solution for your own particular use. And sometimes your geography may even make it entirely different, or the application entirely different. All right, but it's still the same principle, but applied differently. Right, the way a single mother will approach some of the principles and concepts that we're going to be sharing will be entirely different from the way a grandmother, a widow, will apply it, or a mother who has a husband with her, right? It will be entirely different. So if you are a single mother and you are taking care of your mother, you are taking care of your daughter, you are in the middle of all of that. So there's no way it's the same principle, but you will apply it different because your context, your situation is entirely different. So, and that's where wisdom comes to play, understanding how to use it, how to apply it in your particular situation. That's why one of my friends often says that there's one of my books, Finding What Works for You. He said it's one of his best of my books. And he said, because the fact that something is working for somebody else does not necessarily mean it will work for you. Some of the concepts we will share, if you don't have this background, you can misapply it, and it will not produce for you, and it will appear as though these principles don't really work. And so it's my hope that as we share, you begin to think about how to apply it. One of the ways by which I derive value from books, materials, and video programs, the last I can't begin to go on and on. I not only purchased books, I keep buying and I keep reading, right? But the way I apply those things, the way I draw value from books and materials that I study, and when I'm interacting with mentors or interacting with even colleagues, or even sometimes my subordinates or my mentees, one of the things I do is I'm beginning to think of, okay, how do I apply it in this place? And that's why we all need a teachable heart. We need teachable spirit. We all need an open heart. If you come thinking you know it all, then no knowledge will be of great value to you. You have to be humble. You have to be teachable for you to be able to pick, even in other people's foolishness, in other people's folly, you will learn wisdom. All right. And that's why no matter how far you have gone in this life, somebody somewhere will know something you don't know. And that's why you have to be teachable. All right. So let's get right into this, because like I've said, I do not want these sessions to exceed maximum 1 hour, so that by the time you want to revisit it, to take notes, or to refresh your memory, it won't take so long before you get into it. So how to create an effective budget? Number one is ascertain and list out your current and possible sources of income. Now, I must take this in categorical terms. Your budget, like we said last week when we defined it, is essentially a money-making plan and a money-spending plan. A money-making plan and a money-spending plan. In other words, when you pick a sheet of paper, and I want you to do that right away, pick a sheet of paper or a notebook and draw a line in the middle. Draw a T. Draw a line in the middle, dividing that sheet of paper. To your left, you have your money-making plan. To your right, you have, your money-spending plan. So in accounting parlance, they call the money-making plan income, right? So you have your date and you have income. And then, just leave out date, just don't worry about it. Income on the left side, on the left column, and then expenses or expenditure on the right column. Now, this is very important. So what we're simply saying is that the first thing in creating an effective budget is to list out, ascertain, and then list out all your current sources of income, and then possible sources of income. Another word for possible is potential source of income, right? So if you work in an organization where you only earn a salary, but in that organization, there has not been the opportunity to earn any other income within that organization except the one that is distributed. And then now you left that job. Now you are working in another organization where, apart from your salary, they also announced, or is part of the policy of the organization, that whenever you bring customer to the business, you're also eligible for commissions. Now that is potential, that's possible income. Now that one is not guaranteed, so it's potential. So you put it there, you can project, right? You can project on that. The other part, which is fixed, is the current source of income, or current source of income. And that's very important. So how much is a salary? Salary is current. If you have a salary job, you state it there categorically, right? If you are a business owner, for the most part, except you already have, other investments here and there that are consistently giving you cash flow. Outside of that, then you most likely your source of income or source of income will be possible sources of income or potential source of income, because also not guaranteed. Because let me tell you this, for those of us who are entrepreneurs, everybody who work with us, or most people who work with us as staff, already have guaranteed salary. But most of the time, those of us who own the business, right, don't have any guaranteed income. So especially when your business is just starting out, for the most part, your income, and which is what I often recommend, to entrepreneurs, your income, you can design it in such a way, because for most people, they start out their business with little or no capital, no money at all. So which salary are you going to be putting yourself? So you only have a salary on paper, but in reality, you can't take it. You would rather pay all the people who will get some of the operational work done. And then you put yourself or tie your own revenue or income to the performance of the business, which is often what I recommend, right? Especially for entrepreneurs. So mind you, that's where the whole situational application will come to play. The context in which you apply this principle, this is where it will always show up, all right? So if you have guaranteed salary, fantastic. You can state with exactitude how much your salary is. But if you are an entrepreneur, or you are a salesperson, commissioned salesperson agent, whether you like it or not, your income is variable. You cannot determine, what will happen this month. You can only project what it will be. And so, except you have specific structure, even with that, even if you have all the systems and structures in place, you can only project that, okay, something must come in every month. And if you look at your past 3 months, past 6 months, you can project for the future. You say, okay, over the last 3 to 6 months, I've been able to get an average of this. Okay, within the next 6 months, if I do this and this, it can make this thing to grow by another 30% or by another 20%. So those are some of the things you want to look at. So list out, all your current, and there are people who they have inheritances. I have cousins who have inheritances who the father of one of my cousins, passed on several years ago. But when the man passed on, rather than, will his properties, to the children, all he did was to place those properties in a trust, right? He set up a trust, and then the trustee company essentially manage those properties, and then they distribute the rental income to the members of family who have been listed in as beneficiaries. And that's how, the old man who is now late, manages all those resources. And it's important to find out, there are people who have inherited properties, investment properties in England, in Germany, in different parts of the world, and in Nigeria. There are people who inherited businesses, and the businesses pay them dividends, So when somebody like that is developing a budget, it will be entirely different from somebody who is just starting life, who is still trying to find his bearing, who is still trying to look for a job. All right. And so this is extremely important. All right. So ascertain and list out all your current and possible sources of income. Now you can consider income from investments. If you have shares, you can begin to look at dividend income from those shares. You list it out there. What did you earn last year? When was the last time you earned a dividend? Because some companies don't actually pay dividends annually. They pay it periodically, sometimes every 2 years, or some companies are better at dividend payouts than others. So, you list them out. You want to look at rental property. If you have built a property or you have properties, how much? If you have businesses that you co-own, co-founded, right? And those businesses pay you certain level of revenue from time to time, or you play some official roles. Maybe you belong to, you function as a board member in 3, 4, 5 companies, but there is a particular emolument or allowance that is distributed annually. You capture all of those things in the income column. So ascertain and list out all your current and possible sources of income. I want to believe that this is very clear enough, right? So if you don't have that sheet of paper, then you are not doing this job well. So drop a line in between that sheet of paper. On the left side, on the left column, you find the money-making plan, which is where you document your income. And then on the right column, you have money spending plan, which is where you have your expenses or expenditure. Number 2, in creating an effective budget, that's when we now get into determining your fixed and variable channel of expenses. Determine your fixed and variable channels of expenses. Just the same way for some people, your money making, all right, your income sources or sources of income have some parts that are fixed and also have some parts that are variable. In the same manner, a lot of us also have some fixed expenses. Whether you work or not, those expenses are fixed, right? If you run a business, whether you produce income or generate sales or not, some income are fixed, okay? So expenses are fixed. In the same way as an individual, as a family man, as a career woman or career man, you have fixed and variable expenses. You also want to document some of them. For example, some of the variables could be directly proportional to your consumption, right? So, for example, your phone, for your airtime expenses will be subject to how much you consume, how much calls you make, or how much text messages you send and data you consume per month. All right. So, but you can always consult your past record, which is where record keeping plays a critical role in drafting a budget. Like I said in the past sessions, your expenses, your records simply helps you to review your financial history, whereas your budget helps you to project your financial future. All right, so you need the other to project. You need the financial history to project for your financial future, so that you have a sense of, okay, what is even taking money away from you? What is contributing? What is contributing the most to my income? And it's important. I mean, many years ago, actually, one of my revered mentors, shared how that he often takes time to document. He even showed us the book that he's been keeping records of all that comes in and all that goes out every year. And then as the new year is fast approaching, he looks at all the sources of income and looks at what is producing the greatest income. He looks at it, and then it uses that to decide, okay, this is where I'm going to focus more of my energy in the following year. And then looks at all the things that takes money away from him and say, I need to cancel this, I need to reduce this, I need to reduce contact with this person or with these people and all of those things. So record is also very, very important. We'll get into that when we resume again. in 2024. So you want to determine what your fixed expenses are, and then you want to also look at what your variable channel of expense. Another very important thing I need to mention here is that, like I shared in time past, you would notice in most of the cases, your income, most times, for most people, it is just mono source of income. And then more often than not, and for all of us, the sources or the channels of expenses are often multiple. And this is why, even if nobody is going to teach you to have multiple streams of income, common sense should tell us that the multiple channels of expenses requires multiple streams of income. Otherwise, you will just be running, around the clock, and it will still not catch up. You'll be running the rat race and may not still win the race. Okay, so you want to consult your past records. You want to consult books that you have kept. You want to consult a receipt or bank statements, and that is how you'll be able to ascertain what are the things that are taking money away from you. Which is why, I was still in my daughter's school today, and they are wrapping up the school work and everything. And then she made a statement. She said, "Daddy, I want to do something," and I said, "Oh, you need cash? I don't do cash. Can we go there and then I'll pay with card?" I've developed this. Has been there now for almost 9 years. Yeah, about 9 years now. I don't do cash transactions. It's very rare. Some people have said, "So what's all those ones?" No problem. If it's working for you, that's what's working for me. Because I'm naturally a generous person. Anything I do, I want to be able to keep the record. Because of my schedule, I don't keep physical record. My only best bookkeeper now is my bank, right? So that's how I keep it. So find what works for you. So I have an account. I don't touch that account at all. I don't even go into the account. So in fact, there's no ATM to the account. There's no internet banking to that account. So there's no demon, no anger that can be, anything that will make me to carry myself and say I'm going to that bank must be serious enough to take me there. And that's how it is. So we've applied that also even in business. And sometimes we deviate. And let me quickly say that, because I love to be very honest with people. Occasionally we deviate. Sometimes life will throw jabs at you, will throw some tricks at you, and then you deviate from what you know should be producing results. And then once you come to terms, once you realize that, oh, I've missed my way, then you backtrack again and then go back to what was working. Right? Very important. Listen to me carefully. If you don't put yourself under this type of pressure, life will bring its own pressure. I've already told you enough about pressure being normal, and the important thing is that you want to regulate the pressure. The only way you can regulate pressure is what we are sharing right now. So list them out, have an understanding, know what are your sources of income, what are your channels of expenses, and then you can always derive that from your records. Number 3, the important thing here again is now you need to set and clarify your goals. Set and clarify your goals, especially financial goals. And I'm going to touch on that shortly. The reason this is important is because there is hardly any goal you want to set for yourself that does not have financial implication, that will not have financial demands. And so you want to go to a school, or you want to buy a car, or you want to get married. Tell me what will not require money to get done one way or another. So even if you say you want to do visitation, you want to visit people, or you're a pastor, you're a clergyman, and you want to visit people, or you want to make calls to people, what will not require money in the process? So clarify your goals, set and clarify your goals, and look at the top things the things that are important to you, and then describe them in monetary terms, and then let them be involved, let them be part of your expenditure. And I'm going to get to that shortly. So goal setting makes it a lot easier to stick to your budget. Like we said, one of the reasons you should have a budget is because it helps you to know what counts and when it counts. So when you set goals in this manner, all right, and you tie it to your budget, when anything that is contrary is coming, you can tell, what counts, and what when it counts. All right, that's why this is so important. So budgeting without clear and specific goals may still result in poor and faulty financial decisions, right? For a lot of, for those who have known me for more than 20 years, you can attest to it. It does not matter how close you are to me. It does not matter how much I love you. It does not matter how much I care about you. I don't do matching clothes. I don't do ashwebi, right? If it will offend you, I will kukuma not show up. Now, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just a personal life policy. I would rather give you something, right? I would rather package something and give to you than say I'm doing a shrebi because I want to be a monk. No, I don't do that. It doesn't work with me. So I don't believe in it. So it doesn't work for me. So please, that's why I'm giving you my own. I gave you a background. So you may be doing matching, but it does not mean you don't have wisdom. But me, I don't do it. Now, I set priorities. What are the things that I cannot shit on the ground on this one? So my personal development, I don't joke with it. So it does not matter what anybody feels, not anybody saying. I don't joke with my personal development. I don't joke with my covenant obligation. I don't joke with my family. All right. So, and I don't joke with my future. So everything that borders on my name, borders on my family, borders on my covenant obligation, my relationship with God, and a few other things, are critical to me. Those are the things that matter. And those are the things that take money. My personal development, I don't joke with it. So the only thing that people can buy for me that it's very likely I already have it is book CDs, is very, very likely I already have it. All right. So sometimes people who want to buy me books, they have to consult my executive assistant or consult my wife to know, okay, does he have this book? Does he not have this book? So that's why sometimes I always advise people, just send money and we can convert the money to something else. If you want to give me a gift, rather than go and buy something that I may not use or I already have, just convert it to money. Now, the reason I'm giving all of this perspective so that you to set your own priorities, set your own goals, right? And then it will also define exactly how you adjust your budget to suit that goal. I'm currently running a series in our church on how to set and score goals. And one of the things I've shared in that series is the fact that when you set goals, you now need to curate a set of activities and tasks that will support the realization of that goals. So, like Greg Reed said, and I quote, he says, "A dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. A plan that is backed by action is what makes your dream come true." So by the time you set a goal and you curate a set of activities, so those activities, those tasks are the steps, those are the things that become plans. So goals is not the same thing as plans. It is when you break down your goals into steps that it becomes a plan. Then when you act on that plan, that's what makes your dream to eventually come true. And this is extremely important. Extremely important. So my dear friends, I want to recommend that you tie your budget to your goals. Number 4, I beg your pardon. Number 4, by the way, can you still all hear me? Are you still with me? Do I still have your attention? If you can hear me, please type 10. Just type 10. If you can still hear me, type 10. Just type 10 if you can still hear me loud and clear. Excellent. Okay. So, number 4, prioritize. Now, prioritize. So, in your budgeting, the next important thing you want to do is to prioritize. What do we mean by prioritization? I told us when I was looking at the vital facts around financial pressure that one of the evidences or one of the causes of financial pressure is misplaced priorities. When you put first things last and last things first, you are bound to be under pressure. Let me be honest with you. any area of your life, whether it is business, whether it is marriage, whether it is finance, whatever area of your life that you are going through any form of stress, you have misplaced priorities. You have misplaced priorities. You have put last things first and first things last. There's no way to not come with undue pressure and stress. So the answer to that is to reprioritize. Are you getting what I'm talking about? You reprioritize. Okay. And let me share this with us. I think I've shared that in the course of this particular series. Years ago, a group of pastors, where I belong also, were undergoing a 2-year mentorship with our pastor. And I recall that one particular day, one particular session we had with him, it was a Sunday morning, and the question was, how are you? That was the topic of that day. How are you? And then he started talking, and then people started responding with different answers. Because sometimes when we hear how are you, the cautious thing to say is I'm fine. But most times people are not fine, but they just say fine out of courtesy. But again, if you are truly interested, you let people know, you ask people things like, really? Are you sure you are really fine? And then if they can see genuinely that you are interested, they can come out a lot more. And that was the focus of that session we had with my mentor. And I recall that day I had to open up and say, sir, I don't understand why one's giving should be provoking his spouse. And and then he asked me some basic questions and all of those things. Bottom line, it was that, sorry, you don't obey one law and disobey another, right? The same law that says you should give and sacrifice in the Bible is the same law that says you should take care of your family, take care of your household, right? And he gave me some basic principle that I would never forget. I would never forget the rest of my life. He said, anything that threatens the security of the woman. Now, by the way, I was still struggling financially, still trying to find my bearing. And so the little that was coming in, I was making a lot of sacrificial givings and all of those, and then just a little, just very little, in the home. And then that day I was set free completely. And then he said, so anything that threatens the security of a woman, will bounce back on the family. And so make sure you provide for the basic needs of the home. He told me specifically, he said, I'm not talking of luxury. I'm not talking of excesses. I'm not talking about, I'm talking basic needs. So make sure that those things are catered for adequately, right? So no matter your giving, it must not threaten those areas. Wow, that was breakthrough for me. Now, the day I prioritized that and they allocated specific amounts and said, okay, this is what will cover our family expenses every month, I sorted that out. It gave me a lot of peace of mind. I focused on other things. It gave me advantage. It gave me a lot of leverage. All right. And that's exactly the same thing. All right. That you want to also do. So prioritize. So it's not just enough for you to list the number of goals that have monetary implications. But more important is now prioritize those things, because all the goals will not have equal consequences. All right. They don't have the same level of impact. So you want to consider the things that move the needle. You want to pay more attention. You want to prioritize the things that bring money and generate more revenue or sustains the revenue. You want to give more resources in those directions. If it is a relationship, you want to put more resources and attention to the things. If you have a staff, you have a machine, you have an equipment, you have a software, all right, for those of us who are in business and that are powering revenue, there's no way you want to look down and ignore those kind of people. You want to give more attention to that. Is exactly what I'm talking about. So you prioritize. So in your expense column, you prioritize those things. All right? You prioritize those things. And that's very, very, very important. So allocate your resources in order of importance. Resources are always limited, whether you like it or not. If you make 1 billion a month, the resources is still limited, because every now and again, you always have more things calling for funds than the fund you already have. I can tell you that I've been through highs and lows in my life. And I can tell you, at every point in time, the money is not always enough. You always wish you had more. So prioritize. The secret, and this is my own personal secret, I shared it with a number of people who have applied and it produces results, and listen, the secret, why the secret to alleviating financial pressure is introduce priority. Prioritize. If you do first things first, everything else will fall in shape. Years ago, okay, my first two books were Rewrite Your Financial Story and Finding What Works for You. My time is fast spent. I need to quickly wrap up. And in that book, I shared quite a bit on a lot of things. The Rewrite Your Financial Story was the book I wrote when I came out of financial crisis. By the time I was 27, I was already a multi-millionaire in Nigerian naira. But I soon lost everything because I only mastered how to make money, but I didn't master how to retain and sustain it. And so I wrote that book based on my lessons, on my learnings from those money experience. And one of the chapters, I talked a lot about this issue of priority. And I gave a perfect illustration. And the illustration was such that it was basically an experiment that was carried out in a particular institution many years ago. And they placed just to illustrate the power of prioritization, they placed two buckets, the same size of buckets, right? On a desk. And then the same quantity of sand was, poured into those buckets in different order. So there was gravel, there was sand, and then there was water. So, but the same quantity, right? The same size of container was placed side by side. So in the container A, let's call one container A. In container A, they started by pouring the sand first, and then the granite, the gravel after, and then they poured water, and there was not enough space. And then the container B, they started with the gravel first, and then they poured sand, and then poured water, and then everything leveled. The same quantity, the same size of container, but this one, there was not enough space because the order was misplaced. What made this one to fill up to the brim and exact measurement was simply because they started with the gravel and then poured sand. So by the time you pour gravel, sand would find its way. Water will also find its way through the gravel. But in this other end, they poured sand first. Gravel will not go through sand, and and all of that. And that was essentially what played out. So I saw the power of prioritization. So anytime, you are complaining, you are worried, you are anxious, you are stressed out, sir, ma, your issue is priority. You will never have enough money to do everything you want to get done, but you will have just enough to do what is most important. The day I came to terms with this, my life became very comfortable. And I don't envy anybody. I don't run any other people's race. No, I don't run other people's race. I don't run other people's race. If you are not comfortable with my shirt, then replace it. The one I wear, I maintain it well. That's my culture. I have a culture, and I believe a lot more in the culture of maintenance, not necessarily in the culture of replacement and buying what the things I don't need. So prioritize. So reorder your priorities. So these are the priorities I have in my finance, my budget. My covenant obligation. I don't joke with that at all. My tithes, right? My tithes, my offerings, parental seeds, anything covenant obligation, I prioritize it, okay? And I have a provision for it, okay? So every month as income comes, that's how we get it done. The next thing, apart from your covenant obligation, and the reason why this is important, I don't know what your beliefs are, but a part of what you earn is not just yours to keep, it's yours to give. A part of what you earn is yours to give first, and then yours to keep next. Then afterward, you now settle all of that things. Now, after your covenant obligations, then come your future. Then comes your savings and investment. Now, if you treat each of these first two things I mentioned as an expense, as number 1 and 2 expenses, You treat them as an expense. Whatever is left is what you live on. Is what you live on. Right? No matter how powerful you are, you can only remember when you get to your bed. You can't remember exactly when you fall asleep. And there's a power that puts you to sleep, and there's a power that wakes you up. Pay rent for that power. And that's exactly, if you don't have any understanding of tithing or offering or whatever, at least obey the law, the power that puts you to sleep. I'm not aware of any man on planet Earth or any woman on planet Earth who has the power to determine when exactly they fall to sleep. Now, they've even gone a step further. Scientists have gone a step further to design drugs that can put you to sleep, but there's no drug yet that can wake you up. So it tells you there's a power at work. So, and that is what you are honoring. So see your tithes, see your offering, see your covenant obligation as the rent you pay for this earth that you are dwelling on. Okay? And those who have obeyed this thing, they have enormous things that, see, let me share. This is not about giving, but in the course of this series, I'm going to certainly touch on giving. Let me tell you this. I was listening to a great man, and he said something that was very powerful. He said, all of us will go through challenges, whether you are a giver or not. He said, but life will treat you differently life will treat a giver differently from somebody who is not. Life will treat a generous soul differently from someone who is not. And I'm a testament to that. I've been through things that can make someone just finish, as in something that can finish you. All right, I'm telling you the truth. What I've been through. Somebody was still asking me today that, okay, can he get access to some videos and programs that I hosted? I said, no, it's for my exclusive entrepreneur tribe. He said, please. I said, we'll launch it in 2024, right? It's going to be in 2024. In that tribe, I'm not looking for many people, just a few people. But these people, I want to give them things that they will never find in any book, where things that we will not say in the public, will not say in the open, and the things we'll be saying there, just to put people in order. But it's not free and it's not cheap. So I'm not announcing it here so that somebody will not be thinking that he's using this one to sell something. Well, when the time comes, we'll announce it, and then those who want to jump on it. A few people that come in, that are the people I'm going to give the attention. Now, based on some of the things I've gone through, these people will not need to repeat those mistakes any longer. They will need to go through those pain anymore. Okay? So prioritize them in this order. Your covenant obligations, and then the savings and investments should follow next. And then your family and personal needs, your family and personal basic needs, right? And I said family and basic needs. Now, the biggest problem you can ever make is that you service everybody but don't take care of yourself. I'm very, very guilty of that. But I recently told myself the tanker that supplies fuel also requires fuel itself. When you position yourself more as a candle, not as a lantern, you will wear out yourself in service to other people, and you will no longer be relevant. You will die before your time. So you need to pay attention to yourself as well. So as you are taking care of the family, making sure, make provision for yourself. Sometimes take yourself out. Just go and give yourself a treat. It's an obligation you owe to yourself. This is very, very important. And then when you are done with that, all others. So you can have welfare accounts. Once you give out, once the money in that account is exhausted, then everybody waits till next month. I'm sure if you are in Africa, I'm sure you get a lot of bills, some of the people that will call you for financial aid. When you host a webinar like this, they won't show up. They won't attend. If it's a physical meeting, they won't come. They will never seek your wisdom. They will never buy your book. They will never attend your free seminar and the paid one. So, but they want your money. These are the reasons why you can't just be giving to people who are not giving to wisdom, because they will forever be dependent. So this is the reason. Number 5, ensure that your total projected expenses does not surpass total expected income. So write in your budget, you estimate what is coming in, and then you already can project what maximum what should go out. So by the time you add up all your income sources and you add up all your expenses too, it should match. It should be exactly the same. It should balance out. That's very, very, very important. Now, where it does not, make critical adjustments. Where there's no balance between your income column and your expenditure column, then make critical adjustments. So there are things that you just say, no, it's not 2024 that will happen. It is 2025. You push it further. All right. I would have loved for this to be very practical, but there are some tools that I needed to make that happen, but I can't make that happen for today. And that's why I'm just giving this illustration, abstract illustration. I hope it's still helping. Number 6, explore new opportunities to enhance your earnings. You will need to constantly be increasing your income. So explore opportunities, look out for opportunities. If it's a community, if it is a leverage, if it's a platform, if it's a tool, it's a software, and all of that. Anything that has a propensity, any relationship, any association, any club, look for things that can give you leverage to increase your earnings. This is important because you can't improve even your savings, you can't improve your investment except your income goes up. So all other quality of life that you have maintained is subject to the size of provisions you make there. So to improve those provisions, you need to improve your earnings. So explore opportunities, new opportunities to enhance, particularly the one that aligns with your personality, right? This is very important. We call it strategic fit in business. Okay, so if you're an introvert, there are types of opportunities you will not explore. But if you are an extrovert, you can fit into some things, right? There are things that are male-dominated. There are industries that are male-dominated. It doesn't mean women can play there. Or if you have the strength of, you are a woman, but you have the strength of men, then you can go in there. There are female-dominated industries where even if you have the strength of man, you can also still go there. So it all depends on who you are. And then number 7, review your budget periodically. I actually recommend that you do that like every quarter, or every 4 months, every 3 months, or every 4 months. If you do every 3 months, that means you do it 4 times a year. If you do it for every 4 months, means you do it 3 times a year. So review your budget periodically, just to be sure that, well, you are on course. And then whatever adjustment you need to make now and again, you'll be making those adjustments. This is where we're going to stop for today. I believe this has added value, and this is going to be, like I said, it's going to be the last Unleashed webinar for this year. We'll be resuming again 2nd week in January. All right. So, do we have questions? Please feel free to ask questions. The floor is now open. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, ma'am, Mrs. Oshinaiki. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. That is my Oga at the top, all the way from UK. Mr. Marvelous, good to see you. God bless you too, sir. All right, so any question? Any question or contribution? Yeah. I love this question. In the name of giving, asking a realtor in the name of investments in others, to what extent can you be patient giving to downlines that are evidently passionate to close sales, but have struggled for long? Okay, so I said something earlier. Building up your realtors, building up your downlines, your team members, whatever they do, is it's an investment, because their growth can also contribute, or will also contribute to your growth. And so it's important that you apportion a certain level of resource, because let's face it, if you don't have it, would you still have anything to give, right? And you just have to make provision for that as well. So it's part of your business. So you categorize as business, it's an investment. Do you understand? It's also an investment, but you have to allocate a certain portion, or you make provision for it. And once it is exhausted, wait till next month. That's great. That's the way to do it, right? Because let me tell you this. anyone you give to, anyone that receives from you from time to time, either by way of giving or by way of charity or whatever, most times they think they are the only one you are taking. That you are the only, they are the only one that depend on you. They are not aware of several other people who are receiving from you. They are not aware of all the other people who are benefiting. So everybody that comes, place their demand and make it amplified as though they are the only one that is putting pressure or that is benefiting from you. And so sometimes people even emotionally blackmail you to think that they're not doing enough. I don't, once somebody brings those things up, I know it's witchcraft. You understand what I'm talking about? So what I would just recommend is do your best and leave the rest to God. So, but don't allow that to sabotage other priorities. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Especially yourself. You need to invest in your thinking. You need to invest in your well-being, your spiritual sanity, your mental sanity, your spiritual well-being, your mental well-being, your emotional well-being. These are all critical things you want to be, and your physical well-being too. Okay. So I was watching a podcast last night, and the lady made a statement. The lady who was being interviewed made a very profound statement. She said she has lived a significant part of her adult life for others, living it for other people. Most mothers are guilty of this. They live their life for their children. And so they've made a lot of sacrifices. So when the child is moving on to get married or whatever, it looks like their life, all their investments, So, but while you are making sacrifices on other people, you want to draw that balance and make provision for yourself. Take good care of yourself. I know what I'm talking about. I'm guilty of these things too, my people. I'm guilty of these things too. Sometimes I can't even say that I use up to maybe 3% or 2% of what I earn. I live practically for others. And there was something very profound in that particular podcast I watched. The lady said that it's like when you live a life of purpose, you live that life for others. And so he said it's a painful experience, but you also not derive fulfillment without living that life of purpose. So there's a level of fulfillment you only derive when you are donating and contributing to the world, right? That you will not find by another means, and that's pretty much why this is very, very important. I want to believe that you've drawn some significant value from this. Let me see. I think I have more questions. All right. I think I've answered that question. Not a problem, sir. Let me know. I can work with you to train, to groom, whatever. Let us know ahead of time. Just reach out to my executive assistant, and then I'll be very delighted to provide some coaching and training. We can do like a 1 week stretch, maybe 5 days or 3 days, back to back, just 2 hours each day or 1 hour each day. Let us know. Just reach out to me, and then we'll work something out. Thank you so much. I want to believe this is a man or woman. Is it Mr. or Mrs. Ajibola Ululola? So thank you everybody for your time. It's been great serving you. And so we see again, second Friday in January. And we trust God for massive, massive success in 2020.